Cardiovascular responses to exercise, it includes changes in the cardiovascular system during the increase in the physical activity. So when we perform exercise, various cardiovascular changes occur like change in the heart rate. So heart rate increase in the heart rate along with the increase in the stroke volume and the myocardial contractility, it increases cardiac output. Increase in the cardiac output increases the blood flow to the active tissue like skeletal muscle. Redistribution of the blood flow occurs during the exercise, and during the exercise blood pressure as well as the blood volume, it also changes. Now let's understand all these cardiovascular responses which occur during the exercise. First is the change in the heart rate. So here we can see from resting to the increase in the workload during the exercise and its relation with the heart rate. So in the resting condition, heart rates, they are within the range of 60 to 100 beats per minute, and with the increase in the physical activity, gradually heart rate increases with the increase in the workload. Maximum heart rates that can be achieved by the person is equal to 220 minus age in years. Increase in the heart rate usually increases the cardiac output whenever it can increase the venous return along with the increase in the heart rate. So with the increase in the heart rate, cardiac output increases. Now, which are the various factors which causes tachycardia or increase in the heart rate during the exercise? Now, during the exercise, sympathetic discharge increases. So, increase in the sympathetic discharge from the hypothalamus, it produces tachycardia. Various peripheral reflexes from the skeletal muscles, like the proprioceptors, it also stimulates increase in the sympathetic output and the heart rate. Bainbridge reflex can also cause tachycardia because of the stretching of the walls of the atria through vagal mediated reflex. It increases the sympathetic output and decreases the vagal tone, which produces increase in the heart rate. And during the physical activity, body temperature increases. So increase in the body temperature also increases the heart rate. So these are the various factors that contributes to the tachycardia during the exercise. Stroke volume also increases during exercise. Now in mild to moderate exercise, stroke volume increases because of the extrinsic mechanism. So whenever we perform exercise, sympathetic discharge increases, and increase in the sympathetic discharge increases myocardial contractility and the stroke volume. So in mild to moderate exercise, stroke volume increases because of the increase in the sympathetic discharge. But when we perform severe exercise, then severe exercise increases venous return. Increase in the venous return increases end diastolic volume and the initial length of the cardiac myocyte. And by the Frank-Starling mechanism, it increases the stroke volume and the cardiac output. So during the exercise, stroke volume increases. So when we perform exercise, it increases heart rate as well as the stroke volume. Now, as we all know, cardiac output is equal to stroke volume multiplied with the heart rate. So, whenever heart rate increases along with the increase in the stroke volume, it increases cardiac output. Now, normal cardiac output at rest is about 5 to 6 liter per minute. In unconditioned athletes, it can be increased up to 15 liter per minute, that is 3 times of the normal cardiac output. But in the Olympic class runners, cardiac output it can be increased up to 30 to 35 liter per minute, that is 5 times of the normal cardiac output. This increase in the cardiac output is because of the physiological hypertrophy of the heart, decrease in the vagal tone and increase in the resting stroke volume. So in the Olympic class runners, maximum cardiac output it can be achieved. Relation of cardiovascular performance to the VO2 maximum or the maximum oxygen consumption. So during maximal exercise, both the heart rate as well as stroke volume increases to about 95% of their maximum levels. So during maximal exercise, cardiac performance it is up to maximum levels. Now this is in contrast to about 65% of the maximum of the pulmonary ventilation. And that's why cardiovascular performance is the limiting factor in the maximum oxygen consumption, because during exercise cardiovascular activities they are at their optimal state and beyond which they cannot be increased, and that's why VO2 maximum it is limited by the cardiovascular performance. Now let's understand about the skeletal muscle blood flow. Because increase in the physical activity or the exercise, it involves increase in the activity of the skeletal muscles. So in the resting condition, muscle blood flow is about 2 to 4 ml per 100 gram of the tissue per minute. That is about 750 to 800 ml per minute. Now during exercise, the skeletal muscle blood flow increases and it can be increased up to 50 to 80 ml per 100 gram of the tissue per minute or 20 liter per minute, which is known as exercise hyperemia. So when we perform exercise, because of the increased activity of the muscle, it requires more amount of the blood flow. Now because of the increased activity, it produces more amount of the metabolites. So increase in the carbon dioxide production, increase in the hydrogen, decrease in the oxygen availability, they all produces arteriolar dilatation and they open up closed capillaries. And because of all these factors, skeletal muscle blood flow increases. Now the skeletal muscle blood flow is intermittent. So during each contraction, muscle fiber they squeeze the blood vessel passing through them, and because of this, blood flow to the skeletal muscle decreases. And whenever relaxation occurs, blood flow increases. Here we can see the blood flow in 100 ml per minute and its relation with the duration of the exercise. Here we can see the recording of the blood flow in the calf muscle. So whenever person perform exercise, during the exercise blood flow is intermittent. It increases and then it decreases. Blood flow increases during the relaxation and it decreases during the contraction. So whenever muscle contraction occurs, it compresses all the vessels. Compression of the arteries decreases the blood flow. Compression of the veins, it increases venous return. So blood flow in the skeletal muscle is intermittent. It increases during relaxation and it decreases during the contraction of the muscles. Redistribution of the blood flow occurs during exercise. Now let's understand what happens to the blood flow in the resting condition as well as how it is redistributed during the exercise. So here we can see blood flow during the resting condition and blood flow during heavy exercise. So first of all, the cardiac output during the resting condition is about 5 liter per minute, and then skeletal muscle they receive about 750 to 800 ml of the blood flow per minute. Heart receives blood flow of about 250 ml per minute. 750 ml blood flow it goes to the brain, and viscera they receive blood flow of about 2.6 liter per minute. Skin it receives blood flow of about 500 ml per minute. So this is the blood flow at the rest. Now whenever we perform exercise, then during the exercise heart rate increases, stroke volume increases, so cardiac output increases. So cardiac output increases from 5 liter per minute to 24 liter per minute. So cardiac output increases about 5 to 6 times. Skeletal muscle blood flow increases because of the exercise hyperemia. So blood flow in the skeletal muscle increases from 750 ml per minute up to 20 liter per minute. That is 25 times increase in the blood flow. Heart receives blood flow of about 250 ml per minute during the resting condition, which increases up to 1 liter per minute because of the increase in the cardiac work. So heart receives more blood flow during the exercise. So 4 time increase in the blood flow occurs during exercise. Now in the brain, no change occurs in the blood flow. It receives similar blood flow during the resting condition as well as during the exercise. So no change occurs in the cerebral blood flow. Now here look at the blood flow to the viscera. In the resting condition, viscera receives blood flow of about 2.6 liter per minute. But during exercise, blood flow to the viscera decreases about 500 ml per minute. So it decreases by 80%. And this blood flow, it goes to the systemic circulation and to the active tissue like the skeletal muscle and the heart. Cutaneous blood flow at the rest is about 500 ml per minute, and during the exercise it is about 400 ml per minute because of the sympathetic output and the vasoconstriction. So initially cutaneous blood flow decreases, but whenever person performs exercise it produces heat, and increase in the body temperature, it produces vasodilatation. So in the later part of the exercise, blood flow in the skin increases up to 1 liter per minute. So in the resting condition, blood flow it is distributed to the various organs, and during the exercise, blood flow it is redistributed to the active tissue like the heart and the skeletal muscle. So redistribution of the blood flow occurs during exercise. Changes in the blood pressure also occurs during exercise. Here in this graph we can see the recording of the blood pressure with the change in the severity of the exercise. So with the change in the severity of the exercise, blood pressure changes. This red line it shows systolic blood pressure, blue line it shows mean blood pressure, and the orange line it shows diastolic blood pressure. So with the increase in the severity of the exercise, systolic blood pressure increases. Systolic blood pressure increases because of the increase in the cardiac output. So with the increase in the severity of the exercise, gradually the workload on the heart as well as the cardiac output increases, which increases systolic blood pressure. Now diastolic blood pressure it remains unchanged or it decreases because when we perform exercise, then increase in the sympathetic cholinergic output to the skeletal muscle, it promotes dilatation of the blood vessels. Also because of the exercise, it produces metabolites, decrease in the oxygen, increase in the carbon dioxide, increase in the hydrogen ion. It promotes vasodilatation in the skeletal muscle, that is known as exercise hyperemia. So because of the vasodilatation in the skeletal muscle, total peripheral resistance decreases. So diastolic blood pressure it remains unchanged or it decreases. Now mean blood pressure it remains unchanged or it remains within normal limit in mild to moderate exercise. So changes also occur at the tissue level during exercise because when we perform exercise then active tissue metabolic need also increases. So active tissue it requires more amount of the nutrients as well as the oxygen supply. So the blood flow to the active tissue increases. This increase in the blood flow is because of the increase in the cardiac output as well as the local production of the metabolites which promotes exercise hyperemia. So the blood flow to the active tissue or the exercising muscle it increases. Now because of the increase in the blood flow and increase in the oxygen supply, tissue can utilize more amount of the oxygen. So tissue utilize more amount of the oxygen and it produces more amount of the carbon dioxide. So gradient of the partial pressure of the oxygen between the capillary blood and the tissue fluid is increased because tissue fluid it utilizes more amount of the oxygen. So the oxygen in the tissue fluid it decreases and gradient of the partial pressure of the oxygen between the capillary blood and the tissue fluid is increased. So more amount of the oxygen it is released to the active tissue. Now the active tissue it produces carbon dioxide, hydrogen ions and the metabolites. It increases temperature, so oxygen hemoglobin curve it shifts to the right, which releases more amount of the oxygen to the active tissues. So these are the various changes that occur at the tissue level during the exercise. During exercise, body heat production increases. Now maximal efficiency for the conversion of the nutrient energy into the muscle work is about 20 to 25 percentage. It means 20 to 25 percentage of the nutrient energy it is converted into work and remaining 75 percentage of the nutrient energy it is converted into heat. So whenever we perform exercise then body heat production increases. Now, it is observed that in endurance athletics, whenever they perform severe exercise, then even under normal environmental condition, the body temperature increases. Now, this increase in the core body temperature, it is from its normal value of about 98.6 degree Fahrenheit or 37 degrees centigrade to about 102 to 103 degree Fahrenheit or up to 40 degrees centigrade core body temperature increases. So whenever we perform exercise, depending on the severity of exercise as well as the environmental condition, body temperature increases. Now whenever body temperature increases, heat is usually lost by vasodilatation in the skin and sweating. Sweating removes body heat. Also by various environmental factors like conduction, convection, they also remove body heat. Now, whenever person performs exercise in the hot and humid environment, then in hot and humid environment, perspiration is absent. And because of this, core body temperature it increases to the higher value. And whenever core body temperature increases up to 106 to 108 degree Fahrenheit or 41 to 42 degrees centigrade, then it can produce heat stroke. So one must avoid severe exercise in the hot and humid environment, and exercise should be performed in the comfortable environment as well as with the comfortable clothing. Now let's understand the effect of training. So what is the effect of training on the cardiovascular function, respiratory function and the other body tissues? So training is the regular physical activity, and whenever we perform regular physical activity, then it produces changes in our body tissues. So usefulness of the training it includes increase in the performance in the sports. Training it slows aging process, it promotes mental well-being, it improves glycemic control, and it decreases incidence and the severity of the myocardial infarction. So training is very useful for the well-being as well as the longevity of the person. Now first of all let's understand the effect of training on the cardiovascular system. So to understand effect of training on the cardiovascular system, let's observe all the data from the untrained individual as well as in the trained athlete during the resting condition and during maximal physical activity. So we are comparing the data in the untrained individual and the trained individual. So first of all, in the untrained individual. So during the resting condition, in the untrained individual heart rates, they are about 72 beats per minute. Stroke volume is about 75 ml per beat and the cardiac output is about 5 to 6 liter per minute. Now whenever untrained individual he performs exercise, the maximal exercise, then heart rate increases and the maximum heart rates that can be achieved is about 180 beats per minute. Stroke volume increases from 75 ml per beat to 100 ml per beat and cardiac output increases from 5 liter per minute to 18 liter per minute. So 3 times increase in the cardiac output it can be achieved by maximum increase in the heart rate. Now let's observe the effect in the trained person. So in the trained athlete, resting heart rates they are about 50 beats per minute. So resting heart rates they are low because of the increase in the vagal tone. So regular physical activity it increases vagal tone and it decreases the resting heart rate. Stroke volume in the trained individual is more is about 100 ml per beat, and this increase in the stroke volume is because of the physiological hypertrophy of the heart. So regular training it produces physiological hypertrophy of the heart, so resting stroke volume is more. So cardiac output is about 5 liter per minute. So in the comparison with the untrained individual, in the trained athlete, resting heart rates they are less and stroke volume is more. So trained person he can achieve the normal amount of the cardiac output by increase in the stroke volume. Now whenever this trained person he perform exercise, then gradually heart rate increases. Along with that, stroke volume also increases. Now increase in the stroke volume is more in comparison to the untrained individual because of the physiological hypertrophy of the heart. So he can achieve more amount of the cardiac output. So maximum cardiac output that can be achieved by the trained person is about 29 liter per minute. So that is the 6 time of the normal cardiac output. So in the trained individual, resting heart rates they are low, resting stroke volume is high, and much larger cardiac output can be achieved during the increase in the physical activity or the exercise. Regular training can also change activity of the respiratory system as well as it can also affect skeletal muscle. Regular training can increase maximum oxygen consumption or the VO2 max, Because of the increase in the sensitivity of the chemoreceptor, pulmonary ventilation can be increased during the increase in the physical activity, and with the increase in the pulmonary oxygen diffusion capacity, maximum oxygen consumption it can be increased. Maximum oxygen consumption it also depends on the cardiac output, and regular training can also increase cardiac output because of the increase in the heart rate as well as the stroke volume. So maximum amount of the cardiac output it can be achieved. All these factors it contributes to the maximum oxygen consumption or the aerobic capacity. So regular training it increases maximum aerobic capacity of the person. So he can perform the physical activity for the longer duration of the time. Now the effect of training on the skeletal muscle. Regular training increases the muscle strength because of the physiological hypertrophy of the skeletal muscle fibers. With the regular training, number of the mitochondria as well as the activity of the enzymatic system in the cell increases. With the regular training, glycogen store as well as triglyceride store in the muscle also increases. So person can perform oxidative work for a longer duration of the time. So aerobic capacity of the person increases with the regular training.